Hi guys, Olive here today to share 25 bookish facts about me. I say that, but it's actually more like 25 more bookish facts about me because many years ago, I made a video like this one in which I talked about bookish facts about myself. And then even more recently than that, I also made a video talking about some strange bookish things about me. I will link both of those videos below in case you haven't seen them. But I've realized recently that, especially after having had this channel for so long, I have even more little random nuggets of information or little stories that really wouldn't make sense to put in any other video. And so I thought it would be fun to talk about them here. If you're newer around here, maybe it'll give you the chance to get to know me a little better. Or if you're a longtime viewer, maybe it'll give you a chance to get even more of a glimpse into my bookish world. So let's get started. Number 1 is the only repeat of the original list, but I have to reiterate it because it remains true and it remains something funny and unusual about me. I still have my library card number memorized. I memorized the number very quickly after getting my library card here in Pittsburgh for the first time, and it really comes in handy. I don't have to keep my library card on me. I can just recite the number to a librarian and receive my items. I just recently did that in front of my husband. We stopped in at a library and picked up a few things, and I just rattled off the number, and he just stood there shaking his head in disbelief. He already calls me the database because my memory is not normal. I actually have 4 different library cards, 2 different library systems, not just physical cards. I have the Pittsburgh one, of course, but then I have 3 others because there are some library systems out there that will allow you to get out of area, out of state library cards for a fee. There's a yearly fee associated with that. So you pay that one-time fee, which is often cheaper than Audible or Scribd, Everand, whatever they're calling it now. Some of those subscription audiobook, ebook services. You pay the one-time fee and then you have access to all of their digital materials for that calendar year until you need to re-up your subscription. I have found this very helpful in getting my hands on ebooks and audiobooks when I need them. I often need specific books to talk about on this channel. And if I want an ebook and I don't necessarily want to pay for it, but Pittsburgh's system doesn't have it, I have other options, and that's really nice. I have been to so many library book sales all over the greater Pittsburgh region. I mentioned in my first Bookish Facts video, that's actually how I learned my way around Pittsburgh. It ended up being really good that I needed to travel to get to a lot of those sales because it taught me how to get around Pittsburgh, how to navigate Pittsburgh. This is not an easy city to drive in case you're ever looking to visit. Just be prepared for that. The bridges and tunnels really complicate things. Everything's very hilly. It's very challenging to drive around here if you don't already know where you're going. So getting to all those sales helped me become a Pittsburgher. But since I have been to almost every single one of them, I'm pretty sure, I now know which ones are the best and when in the year they typically happen. I'm not going to share that information, though. That is sacred. That is information I have built up over the years, and I will guard it with my life. I am still in the process of acquiring what I hope to someday be all of the Reader's Digest World's Best Reading editions. I accidentally found a couple of them at a used bookstore one time and then just fell in love with them and wanted more of them. If you've never heard of them, they are these gorgeous, hardcover, illustrated, unabridged. I know sometimes people hear Reader's Digest and they assume that they're going to be abridged editions, but no, they were just put out by Reader's Digest. They are completely unabridged versions of the classics, and I love them. I have most of the more common ones now. Those are pretty easy to track down. You can buy whole lots of them on eBay or other used item sites. But it's the rarer ones that I'm slowly starting to pick up. They're a lot harder to come by and a lot more expensive. We've had other expenses, so that's not exactly what I'm trying to spend all my money on these days. But maybe slowly I can pick up 1 or 2 here or there. I will sometimes, however, get very lucky at library book sales. That happened to me, I think, a couple years back. I found 2 rarer editions at a library book sale in one of those boxes they keep underneath the tables that you look through. The staff at the library book sale will then use those boxes to replenish the tables after people have shopped a little bit. And you can squat down and look through those boxes if you want to. And I don't always do that, but I'm really glad I did that day. Speaking of those boxes, though, I will say that regularly doing squats and lower body exercises in general have really helped me stay down there and sort through the boxes. It used to really hurt to squat down, which is why I didn't always used to do it, but now I can do it no problem. And I feel like functional training is a really great motivator to work out more, and I feel like it does not get talked about enough. Everyone talks about the aesthetic benefits of working out. I would argue for the functional benefits. It makes your everyday life activities so much easier. Additionally, all the upper body work that I have done and continue to do makes carrying books around so much easier. Like at a library book sale, I can have books just stacked down my arm and carry them around. Doesn't hurt at all. It's no problem. I can carry books around the house, boxes of books, tote bags full of books that I'm taking in to be sold at a used bookstore. Not an issue at all. Also in my thumbnails, when I hold up those stacks of books for the thumbnail, that used to be a lot more challenging. If you've seen my bloopers videos in the past, you will have seen a lot of books fall on me. And sometimes things do slide around a little still because some books have very slick, like shiny covers, and that makes things slide. But I can't remember for the life of me the last time I've had books fall on me because I'm able to keep them a lot more steady now. I need to admit this for the first time out loud, that I think I am well and truly at capacity when it comes to the number of books I own. I don't know what that number is. I'm kind of scared to know what that number is, so I don't really want to know. But I do know that everywhere I can put books in this house, I've already put books. Everywhere a bookshelf could go, I've put a bookshelf there and filled it with books. I'm now at the point where I have books stacked on the floor, and that's not good. Most of my books are in this room. Of course, this shelf behind me, but there are lots that you can't see. I have one over here with my sports books, one over there for nonfiction overflow. I have my Russian history books over there, fiction over there, even more fiction up there. I have 2 bookshelves in my sunroom, one for all my bird books, one for the Reader's Digest World's Best Reading Editions, and then I have some cookbooks in our dining room. That's really all the space that I have. I don't want to acquire any more bookshelves, but I also don't want books on the floor. So I think I'm at the point where I need to really focus on reading a lot of these books that I own and then find shelf space for the ones that are currently on the floor. So I need to temporarily, at least, take a little bit of a break from hauling books. It might be a while before you see a haul video from me. And then past that, I can make decisions about if I want to take acquiring books back up. But I need to get this situation under control first. Another collection of mine that has grown substantially since I last talked about it is my bookmark collection, which I now store in this lovely bird box that a friend got for me. It's so perfect, it's so me, and it's just the right size for my bookmarks. A lot of my favorites in here are ones that I've actually found in used books. Sometimes people just forget that their bookmark is still in there, or it's just kind of a throwaway scrap of paper. I don't often keep the scraps of paper, but the bookmarks I do keep. I actually found these 2 from the Botany and Horticulture Library in 2 different books. I don't know if they belong to the same person who got these when they must have been at that library, but since I read a lot of nature books, these are perfect. But some other favorites include this collection of bookmarks that I bought at the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum in Boston, and they have some of her quotations on there. And my favorite one is this front one. I don't know if you can read that. Win as though you were used to it and lose as if you liked it. I also have some more sentimental ones. Like I cut this one out of a box of holiday gin that I found on sale a number of years back. I just loved the box and I wanted to keep it. So I cut this out and now I use this around the holiday season. And then these last 3 that I'm going to show you from my collection, I probably did show these in the original bookmark collections video, but I love them so much and they have such sentimental value that I'm going to show them again because I made these. I made them out of wrapping paper. I participated in this book blogger, booktuber, book swap back in 2015. The unboxing video from that is still up on my channel, but the wrapping paper that my Secret Santa used was so beautiful, I didn't want to throw it away. So I repurposed it and I turned it into bookmarks. And I love these. I will always associate these with that memory, with getting started on BookTube. And I'd love to make more bookmarks. I find them a lot more special because I've made them. I would love to make some that are dedicated to specific books. It's a crafting project I think I'm going to take on this year. Beyond books and bookmarks, really the only other bookish objects anyway that I intentionally collect are tote bags. I love a good tote bag because not only are they super cute, really fun to collect, they are also functional, which for me is very important. I use my tote bags all the time. I store books that I know I want to sell to a used bookstore in a tote bag here in my reading room. I have one of those over in the corner. I imagine I'll fill another one up before I get into the used bookstore. Then once I'm done selling them, I use them to shop with. I'll take them with me to library book sales so I don't have to carry books around, even though I'm capable of doing it. But then I'll also take those tote bags with me on trips. I use them is the point here. I can always use a good tote bag. People know this. They give them to me as gifts, but I also find them out and about. My most recent acquisition is this one that I fished out of a bin at a Goodwill outlet. It's in perfect condition. It's made with 100% recycled cotton. It's adorable. I don't know how a tote bag from Michigan ended up at a Goodwill here in Pittsburgh, but I'm very glad it did. I'm going to be using this all the time this summer because of the nautical theme. I'm hoping one of these days to actually be able to show you my entire tote bag collection. I have several times now filmed a reel for Instagram that then I would cross-post here to YouTube showing off all of my tote bags. But Instagram eats it. Every single time, it always fails, and I have to throw away all of my hard work. It's very discouraging, but maybe one of these days I will refilm it. Hopefully I'll be successful that time. Maybe I'll be permitted to show you my tote bags because they are really great. Speaking of Instagram Reels, though, I recently saw one that changed my life. I was so inspired by it. I saw this clip of a person, a very intelligent person, who had this whole setup with her e-reader. She had a tablet holder over her bed, holding her e-reader over her, and then had a remote control to turn the pages so she could read while laying down in bed with her arms under the covers. Her partner appeared horrified by it, but I saw nothing but pure genius. So I wanted to recreate it, at least in my own way. So I found the remote control that she used. I asked for it for Christmas. And then I was watching MacBid, which is this auction site that's very prevalent here in Pittsburgh. I was watching it like a hawk, trying to find the right tablet holder that would hold my Kindle Fire tablet, and I finally found one. So I bought it, I went and picked it up and installed it. My setup isn't exactly the same as in that reel because I can't read laying down. If you watch that previous Bookish Facts video about me, then you'll know I have something called convergence insufficiency. It's an eye issue. It essentially means that I will fall asleep if I'm laying in bed looking up reading. So instead, I set mine up on my nightstand. So I have my e-reader beside me. And then I prop myself up with pillows. I have my hands under the blankets and I'm still able to turn the pages and read. I've been doing so much of my reading these days like that. It has been brutally cold and I lost a layer of insulation. So it's very challenging for me to stay warm. These days when I am all cuddled up reading, either in bed or elsewhere with a blanket over me, because again, I run very cold, I have at least one of my cats either curled up next to me or directly on my lap. Both of my girls, their names are Thea and Tanqueray. They are both lovely cats and they are Velcro cats. They follow me pretty much everywhere and they love to snuggle. And so when they see an opportunity to curl up close to mama, they're mama's girls, they take that opportunity. In the wintertime, I do have some good bookish attire to keep me warm. I have this scarf from Story Arts. It has text from The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde on it. My husband got me this for Christmas one year. My jacket right now is white and I have gloves that are gray, so this kind of ties them together perfectly. I also really love my Books winter hat that I got in a Book Riot box a number of years ago. They stopped making those many, many years ago, but I'm glad I got this hat before they stopped making them. But my best bookish thrifting finds happened at this free clothing swap I went to about a year ago. I am constantly switching out clothes that don't fit me for clothes that do fit me because I've been changing, as you can see. So I took some stuff that didn't fit me anymore. It was too big on me. And I was looking through the stuff trying to find stuff that would fit me. And I found not one, but two amazing finds. I found this Out of Print, which is a clothing brand, Out of Print t-shirt with A Tree Grows in Brooklyn on it, which I wore to the Mall of America. That was really nice because I went into the big Barnes & Noble inside the Mall of America. It was cool to be wearing that while I was in there. But I also found this Strand Book sweatshirt. I don't know who would get rid of this, but I'm so glad they did. It fits me perfectly. I've not been to Strand Books yet, but in the meantime, I can represent them. While I haven't yet been to the Strand, I do make a point to try to go visit either a used or new, sometimes a combination of both, bookstore in every single city I visit. That might be why I have such a book problem on my hands right now. But my favorite one that I've ever been to, and we try to go to it every time we're in town, is Loganberry Books, just outside of Cleveland, Ohio. That's not too far away from Pittsburgh, and we really like Cleveland. Maybe that's controversial to say because our cities are supposed to be rivals. I don't know. I'm not originally from Pittsburgh, so I don't have that rivalry. I really like Cleveland, and we try to go there every time because it's beautiful. It's huge. Their selections are great. They have both new and used books. Their prices are very reasonable. Everyone is very friendly. I love it there. Back to the topic of my ever-changing wardrobe, though. I have sometimes made videos because of clothing I have found at Goodwill's. Over the past 2.5 years, I've essentially lived at Goodwill because my size has been changing so much. It's been really hard to keep up with how much my body has been changing. It's been nice because it's nice to be able to buy new things, but you can't become too emotionally attached to any piece of clothing because at any time it could not fit you right anymore. So I'm in a constant cycle of getting rid of old stuff, getting new stuff. Oftentimes I will have people tell me that they like something I'm wearing in a video. They want to know where I got it. And I have to always say, I'm really sorry, but I got it at Goodwill. I know that doesn't help you, especially if the item is circa 2006. The only place you're probably going to be able to find it is eBay because I can't buy things new. I would absolutely go broke if I would have had to have been buying all new wardrobes at every step during this process. But I find some really cool stuff at the Goodwills that I go to, including this sweater, which I found at the exact same Goodwill outlet, which you buy by the pound at a Goodwill outlet. I don't know what a cashmere sweater was doing in an outlet bin at a Goodwill, but I'm very happy to have it. It's very cozy. But at least 2 of my videos that I can point to as being inspired by Goodwill finds are my 2 books on horses video and my 2 books on sharks video. I found a shirt with horses on it, a shirt with sharks on it. I knew I had books on both of those subjects, so I just went for it and decided to make videos inspired by my shirts. I have found that books remind me so strongly of a certain time of year or a certain season, and that's only become more true as the years have gone on. So sometimes that'll just be whenever a book is set. Like if it's set during the winter, then I want to read it during the winter. It's always going to remind me of the winter. That's pretty straightforward. But for me, I've noticed it a lot more when it comes to a book that isn't associated with a specific season. I just read it at a certain time of year. And so that time of year will always remind me of that book. Like that's the reason I reread Rules of Civility every single year in June, because I read Rules for the first time over the summer. So when the summer starts to roll around again, that's when I start craving it. And I have found that I start craving other books around the time of year that I first read them. That's what happened to me with Uprooted this past summer. I read Uprooted for the first time during the summer. And when this past summer rolled around, I really wanted to do that reread. I felt the pull toward it. And it was so rewarding leaning into that. I think I enjoyed that reread more because I was so in the mood for it. So when I feel that in the future, I'm definitely just going to lean in because that was so fun. I've written book reviews for a number of different venues over the years. I've written for smaller venues. I've written for newspapers, big and small. And as a result, I have had a number of blurbs on paperbacks. So snippets of my review were taken and then printed onto the paperback when they put the paperback on the market, I think in the hopes of selling more copies. And that's always really cool to see. It's really cool to see my words on a paperback copy. Sometimes I'll even be holding the paperback in this room, the very room in which I wrote those words. So it's a very cool experience. But I have to say, my feelings about book blurbs have soured considerably over the years, in more recent years especially, but I think I'm going to save my in-depth feelings on that for a future video, so stay tuned. But the combination of all the written reviews that I've done and all the reviewing I've done on this channel, I can look back now over this past almost 10 years of having been doing this and see that it's been its own kind of English language degree for me. Maybe this will surprise you, but I didn't study English in college. Not only was I not an English major, I didn't even take one English course. It's not that I wasn't interested, I was just taking many other courses on other topics. But I can see now that the challenge of reviewing books has given that to me almost. Being challenged first getting started, to figure out how to summarize books, how to communicate their strengths and weaknesses in a non-spoilery way. First, just figuring out how to talk about books intelligently, and then going deeper, learning how to analyze books, talking about their different elements and the quality of those elements, and also reading so much in different subject areas that you amass this wealth of information. You can then compare the book you're reviewing against other works, either that author's other works or other books out there. All of that together, plus reading reviews from seasoned reviewers, learning how they do it, improving my work because of it, watching other booktubers, figuring out what I like and don't like when it comes to talking about books, using that to inform the product that I put out. All of that together has made its own kind of English degree for me. So do I have that formal degree, that piece of paper? No, of course I don't. I would never claim to. But I have 10 years of deep practice, and that's not nothing. Sort of linked to that, I've noticed that my vocabulary has grown tremendously over the past decade. I don't think my vocabulary was bad necessarily when I first started my channel. I know I had a pretty strong base, but all the reading and writing and discussing that I've done over the past decade has definitely helped. I've been exposed to so many new words, and I have very deliberately then taken the effort to learn those words and incorporate them into my everyday working vocabulary. And as a result, my vocabulary is a lot bigger now. So if you're looking to expand your vocabulary, reading a lot, writing a lot, learning those words, taking them on deliberately, all of that will help. Another fantastic result of having this channel has been the friendships that I've built off of it, the amazing people that I've met because of this channel in one way or another. Just being involved in the bookish world online has brought some amazing people into my life. I've met other booktubers, past and present. It's been amazing getting to know them. I've gotten close to a number of other booktubers, but then also I've gone to book events here in Pittsburgh and elsewhere, sometimes because of a book I was reading to talk about on this channel. Other times I hear about books online. I go on to read them, then go to an event, meet people there. It's a really special thing because I joined BookTube in the first place to meet people. I didn't, at the time I started this channel, and still don't have any aspirations of becoming a big-time YouTuber. That was never the objective. I wanted to meet people. I was hoping that BookTube could bring some more like-minded people into my life, which it has done, and then some. But boy, oh boy, along with the good has come a lot of internet nonsense that you would expect. I've had this channel for 10 years. I've seen some stuff. Oftentimes, some interesting characters will end up in my comment section. Sometimes that's authors, if I'm talking about their book and I list their book in my description box. I don't know if some of them have Google alerts out on their name or the name of their book, but they find their way to my video, and most of the time, it's a very pleasant interaction. They'll thank me for talking about the book and move along. And that's always nice. It's a little strange sometimes because I'm not always 100% positive about every single book I read. You probably know this already. But sometimes, very rarely, the author's intentions will be a little bit more defensive because of whatever I've said in the video, which I personally find to be highly inappropriate. I'm talking about the book in the first place. It's being put in front of an audience. So already that's a positive for an author. I know many people still go on to read the books that I dislike because they want to know what I disliked about it, or maybe they have opposite taste as me and that motivates them to read it. Just because I'm saying something not 100% positive about a book doesn't mean it's not going to get picked up. So any publicity is good publicity for that author. So I find it inappropriate because of that. But also I find it inappropriate for an author to do that because I'm making these videos for my fellow readers. This is not meant to be feedback directly for the author. If they want to take it as that, that's fine. But my content is for readers, not authors. The weirdest situation I've ever been in, however, in the comments section, is when the subject of a nonfiction book, like the person being discussed in a nonfiction book I was reviewing on my channel, showed up in my comments. And it seemed like this person felt compelled to start saying some really weird stuff because my main criticism of that book was that it seemed like there was a little bit of bias shown toward this person in question, the one who showed up in my comments. There was a whole ending section of the book that felt unnecessary that was focused on this person. There also seemed to be a little bit of favoritism shown toward that person. And I guessed that was because this person and the author had become very friendly over the course of the author writing that book. Well, this person showed up in my comments wanting to defend the author, which kind of just proved my point. On the opposite end of that exact same spectrum, I think the coolest interaction I've ever had because of BookTube is a DM I got from Amortals, author of Rules of Civility. He wanted to thank me for hyping up the book so much, and that was very exciting to receive. Another really cool author experience I had, though, was that this past spring, I hosted my very first author event. I was asked to moderate the mystery and thriller panel at the Greater Pittsburgh Festival of Books. I'm sure when they asked me to do that, they did not know that hosting an author event was one of my bookish bucket list items that I had spoken about on this channel. But because it was something I've always wanted to do, I took them up on it. I have been to so many author events over the years, in person and virtual. I've been to great ones. I've been to boring ones, and I have learned from all of them. I've always thought, this is what I would do if I was hosting an author panel. This is what I would say. This is what I would ask. This is how I would get an audience really excited about reading the author's books, which I think is the whole point. And then finally, I got the chance to do it. So I prepared as best as I could, and I just went for it, and I think it went really well. I got some great feedback from the authors, from people who were in the audience. It was one of the most exhilarating experiences of my life, one of the top moments of last year for me. I loved it. I want to do it again. I already told the festival, please ask me to do it again. I really, really want to host another one, but I would love to host even more here in Pittsburgh or virtual. I would just love the chance to do it. I know a book influencer isn't always the first choice. I know they often ask other authors to interview an author about their book because then they both have something to promote. They both have books to sell, but I will do it without anything to promote. I just want to be a professional hype woman. Drastic shift in tone here, but I've got to get this out because the list is almost done. And not only is this true, but it's only become more true over the years. I detest Goodreads. I detest what they stand for. I hate the way they do business. Their code must be a hellscape. They are so allergic to doing anything that their users actually want. They police the wrong things. There's so much spam. There's a lack of protections. I've ranted about them before. I could make a whole other rant video. If I didn't have so much built up on my Goodreads over the almost 10 years that I've been using it, I would completely abandon it and move over to the Storygraph permanently. The Storygraph, I swear, considers every single user request they get. They are legitimately interested in making the platform better for readers, and I think Goodreads is allergic to that. Like I was saying, though, the story graph stands in stark contrast to Goodreads. It is so good, and it gets better with every update. I love it. I applaud you. You guys are doing amazing. I think my favorite feature on the story graph is the up next function, where you can plan out up to your next 5 reads. You can add them to this little queue within your to read shelf. And it's so nice not having to go into my grander to read TBR to select something that I'm currently reading. I can just go into my queue and keep that updated so I know what I'm moving on to next. It just fills my orderly little heart with so much joy. I am a big planner, so that works so well for me. I love it. Even if they allowed more than 5, I would still use it all the time. If they allowed up to 100, I would in fact map out my next 100 reads. Although thinking about it, it's probably best they don't allow me to do that. I would probably let that get out of control. My last bookish fact is more like a bookish related story that I've been wanting to tell for years, but there's no real place to do it. And I don't know if anyone's going to know right away what I'm talking about because it's so niche, but I have to tell it. And I will give you the context so you can understand why this was and still is such a big deal to me. But let's just say I've been on the internet a long time. If you look at the creation date for this channel, you'll see that it was back in 2006. That doesn't mean I created this channel in 2006. It means I created this YouTube account in 2006. This is my original YouTube account. And then many years later, I went on to create this A Book Olive channel. But I've been watching YouTube since the very early years, and a creator who I could not get enough of back then, back in like 2006, 2007, was a person named Dax Flame, who became very popular very quickly on this platform, was a very well-known name back at that time. It's this awkward, really funny teenager who would tell these stories about different things that happened to him at school or his efforts to try to make friends or win himself a girlfriend. A lot of people questioned whether or not it was a character or if he was being for real, if that was his real personality, because he was so funny and it seemed like sometimes he was making jokes, but he sold it so well. If it was fake, then he was a very good actor, which I now believe that he was just a really good actor. I think he incorporated parts of himself, but I think some of it was meant to be a joke. He's just really, really talented. But my husband and I bonded over his videos so much. We would save them to watch together. We would be on the phone and we'd have a countdown, 3, 2, 1, and we would start the video so we could watch it together at the same time because we were long distance at that time. So many years later, I was still following Dax Flame's Twitter account. He wasn't active really on his YouTube channel much at that time, but on my Twitter bio, I had that I loved books and reading. And out of nowhere, we had never spoken before, but I got a DM from Dax Flame asking me if I would be interested in reading his book. He wrote a book, he was going to self-publish it, and he wanted thoughts on it. So he offered to send it to me, and of course I said yes. And he not only sent it to me, but he sent me a handwritten letter, and he also sent me a memento from one of his videos as a thank you for being such a fan over the years and reading the book for him and giving him my thoughts. And I still have it. It's from his video, The Convenient Truth, which I will link below. I will also tag him. Hi, Dax. And this is one of the coolest things that has ever happened to me. That video has a lot of views, even today. You can watch it. And it is just such an amazing thing to have this. I need to get this framed because his videos meant so much to me and my husband before we were married, way before we were married. And even since, like, we still quote some of his videos to this day. He is part of our inside joke catalog that we share over the 17 or so years that we've been together. So That is a really cool thing that happened to me even before I had a booktube channel, and then I went on to also become a YouTuber, so it's definitely come full circle. But those were some more up-to-date, anyway, bookish facts and stories about myself that really wouldn't fit anywhere else. I hope you enjoyed hearing about them. Let me know in the comments below, what is your craziest, most interesting, most niche fact or story about yourself in a bookish sense? Like, were you mentioned in a book? Did you meet an author? Anything like that. That would be so cool to hear about in the comments, but you can also let me know anything else down there as well, any additional comments or questions you may have. Everything I mentioned in this video, I'm going to link for you in the description box so you can check it out. And then at the very bottom of the exact same description box, you'll see links to everywhere you can find me around the internet, like Goodreads, but also Instagram and the Story Graph, in case you want to keep up with what I'm reading and doing right now. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.